Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by for NIO
Back
Incorporated's
again.
third quarter
Welcome, everybody.
2025
Thanks for
earnings
tuning
conference
in.
call. At this time, all
In
participants
the
are in
background, you
listen-only
hear the
mode.
NIO earnings call is
Today's conference
starting.
call is being
As
recorded.
always, this is my live
I will now
stream
turn the call over
around
to your host,
NIO
Mr. Ray
quarterly
Chen,
earnings, this
Head of
time the
Investor
management
Relations
call
and
where the
Corporate
bank
Finance
analysts
of the
can ask
company.
questions.
Please go ahead,
Prior
Ray.
to that, I've been already on a live stream discussing the NIO earnings
Good
report
morning
in
and good
detail.
evening, everyone.
So go
Welcome
find
to
the video
NIO's
on
third
YouTube
quarter
if you're interested
2025
in that.
earnings conference call. The
Just
company's
as a
financial and
broad
operational
summary,
results
I'd
were published
say those
in the
earnings
press
have
release
been pretty
earlier
good.
today and are posted on the company's IR
Maybe
website.
better than
On
what
today's
most
call,
people
we
out there
have
were
Mr.
thinking
William
and
Li, Founder,
expectations
Chairman of
generally.
the Board, and
Not
Chief
better than
Executive
my
Officer,
expectations though,
and
but
Mr.
I had
Stanley
pretty
Qu, Chief
optimistic
Financial Officer.
expectations going into the
Before we
call.
continue, please
Well,
be kindly
we can
reminded
discuss
that
that
today's discussion will contain
during this live
forward-looking
stream as
statements
well. As
made
always, I
under
take
the
your
Safe
questions
Harbor
and Q&A,
provisions
maybe
of the
also
U.S.
after
Private
the earnings call
Securities
has ended.
Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking
Yeah, they're now starting with those usual remarks in the beginning, where they're reading transcripts and stuff. So that's not the hot part. And I guess we already saw the numbers, right, which have been maybe a little bit low on the revenues, but pretty good on the bottom line, I'd say. And also the margins have been good, and then the cash position is good. Lots of positives, and then maybe people worrying about the outlook, which has been cut to 120K to 125K, which, as I said in my previous live stream, has been always been my estimation that it's going to be more around those numbers. But even if we'll hear now in this earnings call more about how they plan to go to
please refer to NIO's press
profitability
release,
in the
which
next
contains
quarter, right?
a reconciliation of unaudited non-GAAP measures to comparable GAAP measures. With that, I will now turn the call over to our CEO, Mr. William Li. William, please go ahead.
William Li remarks.
大家好，非常感谢各位参加未来2025年第三季度业绩沟通会议。
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining NIO's 2025 Q3 earnings call.
2025年第三季度，公司共计交付87071辆智能电动汽车，同比增长40.8%。
In Q3 2025, the company delivered 87,071 smart EVs, representing a year-over-year growth of 40.8%.
第三季度，我们相继发布了乐道 L90和蔚来全新 ES8两款纯电大三排 SUV 产品，其综合竞争力在各自细分市场受到了用户的高度认可，市场需求强劲。同时，萤火虫车型的市场需求也在持续增长。蔚来、乐道、萤火虫三个品牌在更广的价格带满足更广泛用户的需求，共同推动公司销量大幅提升。
During the quarter, we launched two large three-row battery electric SUVs, the Envoy L90 and the NIO all-new ES8. Both models have received strong recognition from users from their comprehensive competitiveness and continue to see solid demand. In the meantime, Firefly continued to see steady market growth. By covering a broader range of price segments and meeting more diverse needs, the NIO, Envoy, and the Firefly brands are able to drive significant growth in deliveries.
2025年10月，公司交付40397辆智能电动汽车，同比增长92.6%，交付量连续3个月创历史新高。我们预计第四季度的总交付量为12万至12.5万辆，同比增长65.1%至72%，达到季度新高。
In October, the company delivered 40,397 smart EVs, up 92.6% year-over-year, marking 3 consecutive months of record high deliveries. For Q4, we expect total deliveries to be in the range of 120,000 to 125,000, a year-over-year increase of 60.1% to 72%, achieving a new quarterly high.
财务表现方面，通过成本结构的持续优化，第三季度整车毛利率提升至14.7%，其他销售毛利率为7.8%，综合毛利率创下近3年来的新高， 达到13.9%，公司产品与服务盈利能力显著增强。
On the financial front, thanks to the ongoing cost optimization, in Q3, the vehicle gross margin improved to 14.7%, and the gross margin of other sales was 7.8%, resulting in an overall gross margin of 13.9%, the highest in nearly 3 years. This reflects the company's strengthened product and service profitability.
同时，我们研发、销售与管理方面的运营效率持续提高。公司第三季度 non-GAAP 运营亏损环比收窄超 30%。第三季度，公司也实现正向经营现金流和自由现金流。
Operational efficiency in R&D, sales and general administration continued to improve. Non-GAAP operating loss was narrowed by 30% quarter over quarter. In Q3, the company's operating cash flow and free cash flow both turned positive.
在产品和技术方面，未来坚持可充可换可升级的纯电技术路线，依托12大全站自研领域的技术积累，在不同细分市场精准满足用户需求。3大品牌全新产品的综合竞争力获得了用户的广泛认可。
NIO remains committed to a battery electric vehicle roadmap featuring chargeable, swappable, and upgradable batteries. Leveraging the company's full-stack R&D capabilities in 12 key tech areas, the 3 brands are able to precisely meet users' needs across multiple market segments, and the competitiveness of our new products under all 3 brands has been well received.
未来品牌方面，近期我们推出了 ET9 地平线特别版的3款全新色彩主题。地平线版本是未来品牌最高线产品的特别版本。凭借独特设计品味、科技行政旗舰定位和尊享服务，自推出以来市场表现亮眼。我们的全场景科技旗舰 SUV 全新 ES8 在9月份 NIO Day 正式上市并开启交付。凭借纯电技术所带来的空间与驾乘体验优势，全新 ES8 在高端大餐牌 SUV 市场中持续热销，上市仅41天就实现超过1万台的交付，创造了40万元以上纯电车型交付破万的最快纪录。未来品牌的另一款核心产品，智能电动全能 SUV ES6 也在10月份达到累计30万台下线的里程碑，成为中国品牌30万元以上纯电车型的累计销量冠军。
The NIO brand recently introduced 3 color themes for the ET9 Horizon Edition. The Horizon Edition is a special collection reserved for NIO's most prominent flagship models. The distinctive design, advanced technology, executive excellence, and exclusive services make the ET9 Horizon Edition a standout in the market. The all-new ES8, an all-around tech flagship SUV, was launched and started delivery at NIO Day in September. Leveraging the unrivaled space and driving experiences made possible by its all-electric technology, the all-new ES8 has remained a top seller in the premium large 3-row SUV segment, surpassing 10,000 deliveries within just 41 days, the fastest for a BEV priced above 400,000 RMB. In November, the ES6, another all-around SUV in NIO's lineup, celebrated its 300,000 units delivery milestone, topping the sales chart of China's BEV models priced over 300,000 RMB.
乐道品牌方面 ，L90 自7月底上市以来，3个月完成超过 3.3 万台交付，连续3个月位居纯电大型 SUV 销量第一。同时，乐道 L60 的市场表现也同样优异，今年前3季度销量稳居20万元以上纯电 SUV 市场前2。
The L60 also delivered strong performance, maintaining a top 2 position in the battery electric SUV segment, with MSRP above 200,000 RMB during the first 3 quarters. With exceptional products, experiences, and word of mouth, the Onvo brand increasingly becomes the preferred choice for families.
萤火虫品牌方面，自交付以来，销量在高端智能电动小车市场中持续保持领先地位，成为细分市场的标杆。同时，萤火虫创新的通过特别版车型的推出，进一步吸引追求品质与个性化主张的用户群体。这款灵动小车正陆续登陆海外市场，我们将进入欧洲和亚洲更多的国家和地区。
Since delivery began, Firefly has led the high-end small EV market in sales volume, establishing itself as a benchmark in the market. With creative launches of special editions, it continues to strengthen its appeal among users who value quality and individuality. This dynamic small car is already making its way into global markets and will expand into more countries and regions across Europe and Asia.
在智能驾驶方面，未来世界模型是首个在理解世界、预测世界基础上进行闭环训练的世界模型。我们也看到自驾的行业技术趋势逐步向世界模型靠拢。接下来，我们将为搭载神机自研芯片和英伟达 Orin X 芯片的车型进行未来世界模型的升级迭代，在城区级高速领航、智能泊车、智能安全辅助全维度带来体验优化，并且量产 OpenSet 开放级指令能力的全新体验。在乐道智能驾驶 OSD 上，年底推出的 Coconut 2.1.0 的版本，也将在城区领航和智能泊车上迭代端到端模型化的体验。
In smart driving, the new world model, NWM, is the first world model that not only understands and predicts the real world, but also operates with a closed-loop training system. Actually, the industry trend is increasingly shifting toward a world model roadmap. Next, we will gradually roll out upgrades on NWM for vehicles equipped with NIO's NX9031 and NVIDIA's Orin X smart driving chips, further enhancing urban and highway NOP+, parking, and the smart safety performance. The upgrades will also enable execution of OpenSet commands. For the onboard smart driving, the Coconut 210 scheduled for release at year-end will upgrade its model-based end-to-end solution for urban and highway NOA, as well as parking, delivering a more seamless driving experience.
销售网络方面，截至目前，我们开设了172家未来中心和395家未来空间，乐道门店数量达到422家。在服务网络方面，我们已经开设了405家服务中心和70家交付中心。
Our sales and service network currently includes 172 NIO houses, 395 NIO spaces, 422 onboard stores, as well as 405 service centers and 70 delivery centers.
充换电网络方面，截至目前，我们全球已经累计布局3641座换电站，已为用户累计提供超过9200万次换电服务。此外，未来已累计建成超过27000根超充桩和目的地充电桩。
Our global charging and swapping network now operates 3,641 power swap stations, providing users with more than 92 million swaps. Besides, NIO has built over 27,000 power chargers and destination chargers.
9月17日，未来在美股和港股市场同步完成合计11.6亿美元的股船融资，此次融资进一步增强了公司资产负债表，为长期技术研发和用户服务提供更充足的资源。
On September 17, NIO completed a total of $1.16 billion in equity financing on both the US and Hong Kong stock exchanges, further strengthening its balance sheet and providing ample resources for its long-term commitment to R&D and user services.
11月23日，2025未来杯中国大学生电动方程式大赛在合肥圆满落幕。自2015年起，未来持续支持该项赛事，助力4万名年轻工程师的培养与成长。
On November 23rd, the 2025 NIO Cup Formula Student Electric China successfully concluded in Hefei. NIO has been supporting this competition since 2015, helping cultivate tens of thousands of young professionals for the industry.
今年是未来成立11周年， 我们在智能电动汽车核心技术领域坚持正向研发，在充换电基础设施建设方面持续投入，建立了多品牌产品销售与服务体系，与超过90万名用户一起创造了富有活力、共同成长的用户社区。
Today also marks the company's 11th anniversary. Over the past 11 years, we have remained committed to in-house R&D in core smart EV technologies, continued investing in charging and swapping infrastructure, built a multi-brand sales and service system, and created a vibrant community for over 900,000 users to share joy and grow together.
这些优势已经获得越来越多用户的认可。今年3个品牌的全新产品在不同细分市场表现突出，公司进入新一轮快速增长阶段。与此同时，我们基于 CBO 基本经营单元机制，全面调整组织结构，提升运营效率，经营结果得到了持续的改善。
These advantages have been increasingly recognized by our users. This year, our new products across 3 brands have performed strongly in their respective market segments, marking the beginning of a new phase of rapid growth. At the same time, through the cell business unit mechanism, we have comprehensively optimized our organization and enhanced operational efficiency, consistently improving our business results.
向下扎根，向上生长。我们将持续围绕用户体验和价值创造，提供更具竞争力的技术、产品和服务，成为一家技术与体验领先的用户企业，共创可持续和更美好的未来。
Rooted deep and growing beyond. Looking ahead, we will continue to provide more competitive technology, products, and services to deliver better user experience and greater user value. As the company evolves into a user enterprise leading in technology and experience, we aim to shape a sustainable and brighter future with more users.
感谢大家的支持。现在 Stanley 将为大家介绍2025年3季度的财务业绩。有请 Stanley。
Thank you for your support. With that, I will now turn the call over to Stanley for Q3's financial details. Over to you, Stanley.
Thank you, William. Let's now review our key financial results for the third quarter of 2025. Our total revenues reached 21.8 billion RMB, increased 60.7% year-over-year and 14.7% quarter-over-quarter. Vehicle sales were 19.2 billion RMB, up 15% year-over-year and 19% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year growth was mainly due to higher deliveries, partially offset by a lower average selling price from product mix changes. The quarter-over-quarter increase was mainly from higher deliveries. Other sales were 2.6 billion RMB, up 31.2% year-over-year and down 9.8% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year growth was driven by increased sales of used cars, technical R&D services, and sales of parts, accessories, and after-sales vehicle services, while the quarter-over-quarter decrease was mainly due to the decrease in revenues from used cars, technical R&D services, partially offset by the increase in parts, accessories, and after-sales vehicle services and provision of power solutions. Looking at margins, vehicle margin was 14.7%, compared with 13.1% in the Q3 last year and 10.3% last quarter. The year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter increase were mainly due to the decreased material costs per unit, primarily driven by our comprehensive cost reduction efforts. Overall gross margin was 13.9% versus 10.7% in Q3 last year and 10% last quarter. The year-over-year increase mainly reflected higher vehicle margin and better profitability in sales of parts, accessories, and after-sales vehicle services, driven by cost reduction and efficiency improvements. The quarter-over-quarter increase was mainly attributable to higher vehicle margin. Turning to OPEX, R&D expenses were 2.4 billion RMB, decreased 28% year-over-year and 20.5% quarter-over-quarter.
The decreases year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter were mainly driven by lower personnel costs in R&D functions due to organizational optimization and decreased design and development costs from different development stages. SG&A expenses were 4.2 billion RMB, up 1.8% year-over-year and 5.5% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year SG&A expenses stayed stable. The quarter-over-quarter increase was mainly driven by the increase in sales and marketing activities associated with new product launches. Loss from operations was 3.5 billion RMB, down 32.8% year-over-year and 28.3% quarter-over-quarter. Excluding share-based compensation expenses and organizational optimization charges, adjusted loss from operations was 2.8 billion RMB, representing a decrease of 39.5% year-over-year and 31.3% quarter-over-quarter. Net loss was 3.5 billion RMB, showing a decrease of 31.2% year-over-year and a decrease of 30.3% quarter-over-quarter. Excluding share-based compensation expenses and organizational optimization charges, adjusted net loss was 2.7 billion RMB, representing a decrease of 38% year-over-year and 33.7% quarter-over-quarter. Furthermore, we generated positive operating cash flow and positive free cash flow this quarter. Together with the $1.16 billion equity offering in September, we ended the quarter with 36.7 billion RMB in total cash and cash equivalents, restricted cash, short-term investments, and long-term time deposits, laying a solid foundation for our future growth. That wraps up our prepared remarks. For more information and the details of our unaudited third quarter 2025 financial results, please refer to our earnings press release.
Script and pretty much wrapping up the earnings report that I've discussed in the previous video, right, in the first call. I haven't had so much time.
If you wish to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone.
About
and wait for your name to be announced.
the questions, but I'll come back to them if
Press star
only possible in the Q&As later on.
If you're on a speakerphone, please pick up the handset to ask a question.
Yeah, let's see. Now they're going into the
For
analyst.
the benefit of all the participants on today's call, please limit yourself to 2 questions. And if you have additional questions, you can re-enter the queue.
Seems to have
Our first question comes from the line of
Indian
Tim
person,
Xiao
right,
from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
if I'm not wrong.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. This is Tim from Morgan Stanley. So I have 2 questions. So the first question is about the break-even target because we noticed that NIO's updated fourth quarter delivery guidance of 120 to 125,000 came in like around 20% lower than our previous target of 150,000. So just wondering that with the volume shortfall adversely affect the company's break-even target for fourth quarter, and considering the subseasonal demand and policy uncertainty, when could the company achieve previous monthly run rate of 50,000? That's my first question.
好，谢谢 Tim。我们还是有信心也是我们的目标，要实现4季度的这个盈利这仍然是我们的这个公司的经营的目标。
So the first question
我们确实
comes
看到了在
about the profitability and the 120K guidance. See, this is also the thing most discussed here in a chat. So in my previous earnings call, I was talking about I've always expected it to be around 120K, so it's not a surprise. I think it's still possible to get to profitability, but let's see if Libin still guides for that. And yeah, what's the reason behind it? Quite unsure. Might be something about how they postpone some models into 2026 and some supply chain implications and the way how ramping is going, that sort of thing. But generally, for me, It's being weighed up really by the fact that the operational progress has been so much better already on the margins and on the cost cutting. So still quite good in my opinion. I would have liked to see better and higher average sales prices though. And also now some people are discussing here a bit more of the focus of hopefully growing revenues rather than just on the delivery numbers. But there's lots to be discussed around this. There are many ways to viewing that. Basically, I'm not concerned around this lower guidance there, and I still think profitability might be on the table. And if not, like the other said here in the comments, there will be huge cuts still on the net losses. So all of that going to the right direction, but let's see what they are saying. Hi.
Thank you for the question. Actually, for the company, we still have the confidence in achieving quarterly breaking even in Q4, and this is still our financial target towards the end of the year. But in the meantime, we did see the impact coming from the phase out and the termination of the trade-in and replacement subsidies since the middle of October. But this is actually the challenge faced by the entire industry. In that case, in Q4 for the entire industry, we may not see the year-end sales spike that we normally expect towards the end of the year. As you are closely tracking the market and all the numbers, probably you have also foreseen that potential change towards the end of the year. And in the meantime, as next year, the purchase tax exemptions on the new energy vehicles will be further reduced. For the new products like the ES8 with order backlogs that will continue towards the next year, car companies, including NIO, provide the guarantee for the purchasing tax exemptions to users waiting up for their cars next year. Yet no car company is going to provide the guarantee for the trade-in and replacement subsidy. In that case, the overall market demand has been affected because of the cancellation of the trade-in subsidy, especially for our company, our Onvo L60 and L90 are majorly affected by this cancellation as they're of a relatively low price segment and are more sensitive to such changes. Yet we still have confidence in achieving Q4 break-even target. This is mainly because we do see a strong demand for our high-margin products like the all-new ES8. We still have an ample order backlog and also new order intake for that product. So overall speaking, the order intake on the Onvo has been affected because of the cancellation of the trade-in subsidy, yet the overall impact on the gross profit is limited. In that case, we do have the confidence for the financial target.
在毛利率方面，我们看到这个三季度，我们已经实现了整车14.7%的这样一个毛利率，这个比我们自己预期是要高一些。
目前的and yeah, had lots of takes about why the guidance has been coming down. Nobody had this missing or cancelled trade incentives on their agenda. The reason for it, so there's some impact that we may have a big rush towards the end of the year that we usually would have. Still, I mean, they're doing 40K in the first month quarter, and I think what's December we should see a higher than 40K. But
in the meantime, in terms of the vehicle gross margin, in Q3 we have achieved a vehicle gross margin of 14.7%, better than we expected. In the meantime, we are also working with our supply chain partners on the continuous cost reduction and also commercial negotiation efforts towards Q4. With that, we foresee the vehicle gross margin in Q4 to be around 18%. And for the ES8 in Q4, we also expect significant growth in its sales and the delivery volume with a very lucrative margin of over 20%. Then the overall gross profit for the entire company will be significantly improved from Q3.
在这个非车业务方面，大家也可以看到我们 Q3 的这个数字也比我们预期的要好一些。Q4 我们认为仍然能保持这样的一个势头。所以我们现在非。
I'm very pleased to hear this because last time they've been not so bullish on the vehicle margins, but that was the whole narrative that I had in my personal estimations, like also in a case for this quarter, but also for next quarter, that we will see those vehicle margins actually getting close to 20%, improving. And yeah, that's the case.
In the meantime, we also see good financial performance of our non-car sales business, and we also expect such momentum to continue into Q4. So we see improvement both in the sales revenue contributed by the non-vehicle business as well as the gross margin improvement of that part. With that, the gross profit, be it vehicle gross profit or the non-vehicle gross profit, will also see improvement from Q3 to Q4.
在费用控制方面，大家可以看到我们在 Q3 已经看到了我们在过去从今年以来吧，我们持续提升运营效率。
Not much time to talk right now, but yeah, again, that's really exactly like I said in my last live stream. I think possibly we get other services, margins, and profitability helping us with overall profitability. Possibly also what you didn't say here, but now another R&D technical fee coming, which we didn't have this quarter.
In terms of the expense and also cost control, since this year we've been taking a series of actions in improving our operational efficiency and also our expenses utilization, and we already see some good results from the Q3 financials, and we will also continue such effort in Q4 in improving the sales SG&A expenses as well as the R&D expenses and their efficiency. Especially in Q4, we don't expect any major or high-profile marketing or campaigns. In that case, we will be controlling our expenses in Q4 with our SG&A as well as the R&D.
所以总结来讲的话，我们的这个销量确确实实受到了这个置换补贴带来这样的一些影响啊，但是我们毛利总额并没有受到那么大的影响同时我们的费用都是按照我们的计划在进行提效，所以综合来讲的话，我们仍然是把四季度盈利作为我们的一个经营的目标我们也有信心去实现这样一个目标。
So all sum up, our sales volume was affected by the phase out of the trade-in and replacement subsidy, yet the gross profit is not majorly affected. In the meantime, we will continue our efforts in improving the efficiency and utilization of our investment and expenses. In that case, we expect also improve the business results from Q4 and also have the confidence in achieving the quarterly break-even target.
Thank you, Tim.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
That was a really good question in the beginning and answer. I hope my mic is now getting better. I think I was tuned into the wrong mic.
Schedule. Because I think back to previous quarters, the management mentions that we target like 50,000 monthly run rate in fourth quarter. So if we are not going to achieve that, when can we achieve 50,000 monthly sales? And considering all the macro uncertainties, would NIO need to consider moving up the launch schedule of the new models to first quarter or earlier to bolster the sales momentum into next year? That's my second question. Thank you.
谢谢。我们今天给的这个指引的话呢，是四季度12万辆。
Okay, good. I hope mic is better now. So big question around the 120K guidance. And as I said before, I'm not so worried about that. I think it will still be possible to break even. That was exactly confirmed by Li Ben, also with some more flesh on the bone with 18% guidance for the vehicle margins, which I actually thought might be coming, but may have been too optimistic on that one in the past. But because in the past quarterly calls, they always have been not so outgoing on the vehicle margins anymore. But I think with the scale effects and those new models, and now also the ES8 update and stuff, they're proprietary. They have some pretty good high margin vehicles coming up, and with that, profitability is still on the table, as well as with the other services that are leaping into profitability and getting more and more profitable if they also adding R&D technical fees on top, which we didn't have this quarter, interestingly. but they said next quarter there might be a jump in that. They didn't speak of those technical fees, but my suspicion is that they are coming. So again, that's kind of really in line with what I had from a earnings report takeaway earlier in my other call, which I said, like the main metrics that I was seeing in the call are really working towards what we want to see, despite this guidance.
Thank you for the question. As also previously mentioned in my remark, the guidance we provide for Q4 is 120,000 to 125,000 units. In terms of the adjustment on the guidance, as also explained, it's mainly because of the impact on the phase out of the trade-in and the replacement subsidy. With that, we will not be able to see the year-end sales spike driven by the seasonality towards the end of the year. Especially this will affect the sales of our cars that have already experienced their new car hype stage. But this is also the challenge faced by the entire industry. Based on our current product lineup and also launch cadence, we do expect that sometimes next year, in the first half of next year, we will achieve 50,000 monthly delivery. This is based on the consideration that we will be launching 3 large models next year, and also based on the continuous improvement in our sales capacity and also our sales and marketing efficiency. So we do see opportunity of achieving more than 50,000 units per month, somewhere first half of next year. And in the meantime, we will also not just randomly change our new car launch cadence or plan simply because of a short-term or temporary policy changes or impact. We will still keep our original launch cadence, that is to launch 2 new models in Q2 next year and 1 new model Q3 next year.
Thanks. Thank you, Will and Stan. Looking forward to the first break-even quarter and more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Paul Gong with UBS. Please go ahead.
Hi, William. Thanks for taking my question. My first question is regarding the 2026 outlook. Given there would be 5% of the purchase tax being levied on the EVs, how shall we think about the company's preparation for such a policy change? Shall we compensate for the customers for this amount and adjust it along the supply chain and internal cost control, or do you expect to let the consumers take majority of the hits? This is my first question.
谢谢 Paul。明年的这个购置税在会这个优惠的话会减半，这个对于我们的影响呢比对别的会好一点啊，因为我们
Right. Also interesting guidance regarding the next year, 50K at some point starting in the first half of the year, 50K monthly that is, but I don't expect that in January. Like I said before, also in relation to the lower guidance now in December, but it's really nice to have catalysts next year with new models coming and then being moved over there, like for the Onvo L80, and you know that's not bad to have in a weak season like Q1, and then 50K onwards. I mean, if they maintain the margins and stuff and go to that, then that's profitability. Also, maybe even on a full year basis, 2026. That would be super exciting. Depends, of course, a little bit on also if they ramp up R&D again. But just based on where we are with those metrics, that's the way I'm seeing it.
Thank you for the question. As next year, the purchasing tax on the new energy vehicles will be halved. Actually, the impact on us is less major in comparison to other new energy vehicle models and also companies, as 80-90% of our users choose to buy the car while subscribing to the battery. In that case, the price of the battery is excluded from the tax base. In that case, our tax exemption is still more advantageous than other companies and also non-swappable models. And in the meantime, for the popular products like the all-new ES8 with a very long waiting time for the deliveries and pickup, we are also the first car company to announce the purchasing tax guarantee for our users who have to pick up their cars next year. We have made this purchasing tax guarantee already at the launch of the ES8. For other products and models, as their waiting time is not as long as the all-new ES8, so far we don't have the guarantee policy for other models. As for the specific measures that we are going to take in the face of the purchasing tax changes next year, well, it highly depends on the dynamics of the market, the landscape of the competition, and also the practices of other peers. So we will keep flexibility in our measures and also policies. But currently, we don't have a very specific plan.
但是对于整个行业来讲呢，我认为应该是从市场还有用户的角度来讲，应该已经消化掉了这个购置税的退坡的这个政策的这个退坡的这个影响。那么虽然如果我们去看的话
Yeah, I agree with you, Bobby. So that's why I start talking on the channel more about the broader macro topics for NIO, like robotics, chips, NIO world model, lifestyle, and that sort of things. Because once we stop talking about profitability problems, deliveries, weeklies, and stuff, then they can finally talk on those aspects more. And yeah, I think 2026 will be great for chips and China, and we'll have some surprises, including NIO. And maybe hopefully we get a little bit more details, because so far, of course, it's been political, but there was not so much from NIO.
And in the meantime, we also see that the entire industry, including the public and users, are gradually digesting the phase out of the purchasing tax policies on the new energy vehicles. Especially right now, if we look at the smart EV industry in China, it is now less policy driven, as the actual user experience and also the cost advantage of battery electric vehicles are more evident and also becoming more attractive to the users. In the first 10 months of this year, the sales volume growth of the BEV actually increased significantly. This also gave us the confidence in continuing such momentum. So there will be impact from the purchasing tax phase out, but will be very limited.
Thanks. My second question is regarding the expense control. And we have already seen quite some cost reduction, especially from the R&D in Q3. And per your guidance, Q4 should see further efficiency improvement there. Heading into 2026, shall we expect the lower cost structure on the expense side to stay as a constant and new normal? I.e., shall we expect like low 2 billion something for the R&D per quarter and around 4 billion or even lower than 4 billion on the SG&A per quarter?
是的 ，Paul， 那个研发费用呢，在三季度确实我们基本上就是 non-GAAP 也是20亿左右。
The answer to this question will be interesting, because it gives us a hint whether or not NIO is aiming for 2026 profitability, and also maybe a little bit of what kind of big banks they are expecting for technology-wise announcing, because yeah, R&D somewhat is connected to that. So let's see if we can read something into what they have to say about this.
看怎么去持续提升我们的研发效率，也就是说，基于我们的 CBU 机制，让我们这每个季度20亿左右的研发费用会有更大的这个产出。那现在我们在做呢，比如说每个项目都要立项。
Everything else, wow, I've got some speaking time now. Pretty well so far during both the report and the call. I like that Liben is even comparing NIO to competitors, highlighting how battery swapping helps to mitigate some of the issues around that the incentives are being cut down, and then also highlights that NIO has a better user experience, and that is counting more in the future. So that's cool.
As mentioned, in Q3, our R&D expenses is around 2 billion RMB in the non-GAAP basis. And also for Q4 and the next year, we expect our quarterly R&D expenses to be flat, also around 2 billion per quarter. And so far, we don't have any plan to dial back on the R&D expenses. But in the meantime, we will focus more on improving the efficiency of our R&D activities, especially leveraging our cell business unit mechanism. We will make full use of the output of this 2 billion R&D investment every quarter. Inside the company, for the project initiation and approval, we have established the ROI evaluation mechanism. We also have the closed loop with the project review and also improvement. By continuing such efforts, we believe that at 2 billion RMB per quarter in R&D, we will be maintaining our existing product development as well as the key technology development without compromising on the competitiveness of the entire company.
关于 SG&A 呢，确实四季度
Okay, I mean, this would obviously be optimal scenario. Let's say NIO found its lesson and now becomes more lean and better and efficient at R&D. Just needs the amounts that they are now having more or less gradually, plus then the guidance which they had for 2026. I think that would mean a more sustainable profitability, to be honest. Maybe a bit too early to say right now, but that's a path. That's a real path. And the way I'm reading it is that they're not gonna stop innovating. They do more with less. Want to keep it like that, and at the meantime, guiding for 50K monthlies, starting from somewhere in not Q1, first half of next year. This could be, if this will be reached, we are very lucky.
The SG&A
We will be very good by then.
The sales revenue. As in Q4, based on the sales volume guidance, we have lowered our volume from 50,000 units per month to we have lowered from that base. In that case, originally our target is to achieve 10% ratio between SG&A and the sales revenue, and now it's around the 12%. And in Q4, we will also be keeping that level, but this is against the overall background of achieving the quarterly breaking even in Q4. And in terms of the absolute amount, that's around the 4 billion per quarter, as you mentioned. And the next year, we will focus on improving our efficiency in sales and also overall activities. Overall, we believe that 10% between SG&A to the total sales revenue should be a reasonable target for us to achieve.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, William and Stanley. Looking forward for more efficient operation going forward.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Nick Lai with JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yes, this is Nick from JP Morgan. Thank you for taking my question. The first question is actually a question.
Sorry to interrupt, Nick. I'm really sorry to interrupt, Nick. Your line is not that clear.
Okay, is it better right now?
Hi, operator. Yeah, Nick, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, Nick, go ahead, please.
Okay, can you hear me right now? Yeah, so thank you. My first question is really about...
Well, humanity is close to general artificial intelligence, but we still don't have working microphones.
Yeah, from second quarter onward next year, we have a 3 new model, and monthly sales likely hitting 50,000 units. And Stanley also mentioned that the expense ratio will essentially be contained. So with all this comment, it's fair to say that aside on 4 to 25 break even, then next year for the full year, or at least in second half next year, likely NIO's profitability should also be very strong. That's my first question. How should we think about profitability in 2026?
我们明年的全年的这个经营的目标呢，是要实现这个全年的。
I wasn't able to get
这个是我们
the real question here because of the connection issues. Glad that Libin got it. So
目前
interesting.
的方向的角度来讲的话，我们还是这个有信心。那个主要还是
range extenders not gonna happen. I mean,
强调一下这个 non-cap。
I remember talking people about Li Auto here on the channel, and it had a great run, and yeah, it was everybody's darling. But look where they are now. They are not managing to get into EV. Like I said, it will not be easy for them, unfortunately, because I think the Mega was actually a quite cool car. But yeah, NIO made the long shot here and was looking for quality, so no battery fires, no cheap batteries, no range extenders and stuff. And I don't think NIO has any incentives of doing that. And it's going to go 100% fully electric, and everything else is a distraction, in my views. So it's not even worth thinking about it, in my opinion.
在今年三季度的话是做到了55%。如果我们去看前3个季度的话，这个 BEV 的销量是同比增长了33%。
Yeah, interesting. We haven't heard a lot about all of the battery swapping partners recently. I think, again, that's why 2026 lines up as a big year for NIO. We'll see the partners come out with the cars. We'll see more about the next generation of battery swap station. And I would say some news on robotics and chips from NIO's side. Maybe something else as well.
前的话呢，这个 BEV 的渗透率啊，其实是比较低的啊。那如果我们从最近的一些趋势，我们能非常清楚的看到，这个在30万以上的这个高端市场，也就是我们未来这个品牌所在的这个市场，那我们的增长空间是非常大的。那么今年以来呢，高端市场的纯电的心智应该是已经逐步开始形成了。那么 BEV 的渗透率是快速的上升。那么去年全年的 BEV 的渗透率在30万以上的市场只有12%，今年3季度是达到了18%。那么今年的前3个季度的话，30万以上的市场的 BEV 是同比呢是增长了33%。那么增程的话呢，其实同比是下滑了10%。那我们在看到蔚来和乐道都所在的这个大3排的 SUV 的市场啊，纯电的销量在9月份是第一次做了第1名，10月份继续是第1啊。10月份纯电的大3排 SUV 的市场的上险数字超过了3万9，增程的话只有2万4。要不先翻译一下。
Thank you for the question. Actually, for the full year, our business target is to achieve profit for the full year 2026 on the non-GAAP basis. And we do see confidence in achieving this profitability target for next year, non-GAAP, as we basically look at this from both market trend perspective as well as the relative competitiveness of our products and services. Here are some insights into the market and the trends over the past 1 year or so. We will be really looking at the penetration rate of the battery electric vehicle in the premium segment and also more specifically in the large three-row SUV market. In Q3, the sales volume of BEV increased by 26% quarter over quarter, while for RIV and P-Hive, the sales volume only increased by 12% and 7%. Well, actually decreased by 12% and 7% quarter over quarter. And if we look at the entire new energy vehicle market, the penetration rate has reached 55% in Q3. And this is majorly powered by the growth in the battery electric vehicle. And in the first 3 quarters, the sales volume of the BEV has increased by 33%, while for RIV it's only 3%. And more specifically in October, the BEV sales volume increased by 13%, while for the RIV it decreased by 13%. So this is also showing how well received and adopted the BEV model is. And more specifically on the premium segment, priced above 300,000 RMB. This is where our new brand and our products are in. For the BEV it used to be at a relatively low penetration rate, but we do see a trend of improving that penetration. This also gives us huge opportunity for enlarging our penetration and market share in that segment. For this year, especially, we see the trend where the premium battery electric vehicle products are more and more received by the users. We have already seen the awareness and also the appetite for such products, and also this has powered the increase in the penetration rate of this product. For full year last year, the penetration rate of the battery electric vehicle in the premium segment was only 12%, but in Q3 this year, it's already 18%. And in the first 3 quarters, the penetration rate of the BEV has increased by 33%, yet for the range extended vehicles, it actually decreased by 10%. And more specifically, for the large three-row SUV segment, the sales volume of BEV took the first place for the first time in September, and it continued such momentum in October. In October, we see the total volume of BEV registration was around 39,000 units, while for REV, that was only 24,000 units.
从明年的销量增长的角度来讲的话，明年我们讲到了，明年我们 L90 和全新 ES8 都还在一个新车的这样一个周期，明年我们还有3款这个大。
So wow, I was just talking before, like the way I read the previous thoughts around R&D expenses and the guidance on sales, that sounds to me like profitability 2026 for the whole year. And seems we got the confirmation as a guidance now from Li Bin as well. And on top of that, he's talking down range extended vehicles or REV, and says already today how they're trending down. So basically giving his buddy Li Xiang here a little bit of a hard time. But I mean, just look at Li Auto's stock and where they are. The market already knows that full battery electric vehicles are the future.
Regarding the sales volume and outlook for next year, as for the Onvo L90 and also the NIO all-new ES8 next year, we will still continue the buzz around these two products, relatively new to the market. Plus, we are going to introduce another 3 new large models. So we will be having 5 new large models available to the market next year from the NIO and Onvo brand. And if we look at the mid to large and also the large SUV segments where our new models will be targeting, in Q3, the sales volume of BEV models increased by 146%, while for REV, it's only 19%. But as I've mentioned, the overall penetration rate of a BEV among the premium large vehicle models, it's still relatively low, which means that we do have huge opportunities and potential in this segment. So overall speaking, our product launch cadence is in line with the market shift and also the trend, especially considering our large models are also competitive in both products as well as the charging and swapping experience.
那这些大车占我们的销量的比例肯定是会在明年的话，
It's interesting that Li Bin is really giving lots of facts and details, so he's clearly been prepared about the market stats. Compare this to some of the other earnings calls out there, especially from some US companies where all you hear is fluff and where things are in the future, but not where they are today. I think we need to pinch ourselves and remind ourselves that NIO's growing at a really fast pace right now. It's doing real stuff, and it's not selling only a vision here. So quite impressed with that.
会持续的优化，提升在研发费用、销售费用、管理费用方面的这个效率啊，所以在费用控制方面，我们还是非常有信心的。所以总的来讲，这个大车的这个销量，我们产品已经证明了我们的产品定位，结合我们的换电的优势，是能够获得显著的份额的。那么 BEV 的这个在大车和30万以上的这个市场里面的渗透率肯定会我们看到的这个 trend。
I'm not seriously saying Li Auto is going under. They're quite successful in a sense, and they do have a cash balance and stuff, and they will compete, but they're not really successful going into EV, and the future is EV. So they have the same problem like a legacy automaker, right? Which may also have some cash or are still profitable, but the future will be looking much different. So Li Auto is not currently the one pioneering the industry. That's what I want to say.
For this 5 large models, they will also contribute the major sales volume among all of our products. As they are high margin products, they will also contribute more significantly to the vehicle gross margin. With that, next year we expect the vehicle gross margin to be around 20%. That is the further improvement on top of our existing gross margin for Q3 and also outlook for Q4. But also this result will be dependent also on the continuous cost optimization efforts together with our supply chain partners. And in terms of the expenses, as we have rolled out this cell business unit mechanism, we have tightened our control over expenses. We already see some good results, and we will continue such efforts next year in controlling the R&D and also SG&A expenses. And also for our large vehicle models, based on its strong market performance and demand, it already proves that with the right product definition and also with our unique advantages in battery swap, we can capture a decent market share in that segment. And in the meantime, we also see a positive trend and also huge potential for the battery electric vehicles to take up a higher market share and also penetration among large models and also premium models. And also, thirdly, we have confidence in achieving the product gross margin of 20%, plus our continuous efforts on the cost and expenses control. With all that combined, we think that achieving a full year profitability on a non-GAAP basis for the year of 2026 is a reasonable target for the team.
Yes, thank you, very clear and certainly an exciting outcome for next year. My second question is more about the choice between in-house chip against NVIDIA. Can you remind us what is our long-term strategy between insourcing and outsourcing, and what is the pros and cons between these two strategies?
Yeah, I agree. Would really like to see Li Bin also buying shares privately again, like he has done in the past, and like He Xiaopeng is doing. I keep talking in my videos about some signal that NIO needs to send to retail investors. So far, they haven't. In my opinion, disappointing. They should go to Hong Kong, make a primary listing. Li Bin should buy stock. Who knows what else? But anyways, this report and the call is really good so far.
这个自驾相关的性能的改善，我们的性能的竞争力，还有我们的成本都是有非常大的好处的。当然，长期我们会坚持在这个领域持续的经营投入。当然我们看到
Regarding share price impact, well, there's lots of things to say. I mean, it depends also quite a bit on the macros. I think Chinese stocks are entering a slow and steady bull market, so that's going well. I think there's question marks around US valuations and whether or not the Fed keeps on cutting and how's that unfolding. If they keep cutting, then it couldn't really be good for NIO's valuation. But on the fundamentals, if NIO is breaking even in Q4 and really towards 2024, 2026 full year,
our NX9031
we're off the limits.
The smart driving chip made also 5nm process, and its tape out, mass production, application on the car, and also full stack operations were all earlier than the competitors of the similar performance in the industry. And we also see how this in-house developed chip is contributing to both performance improvement as well as the cost structure optimization. So for the long term, we will continue our investments and also efforts in the chip-related technologies. And in the meantime, maybe you have also noticed that recently we have announced a partnership where we are going to share our chip solution and the technologies to more industry players, those from the automotive industry as well as from the non-automotive industry, as we do see a good potential of applying this high computing power reasoning chip on different types of devices, for example, on robots. So we will work with our tech partners together to explore more use cases and also application scenarios of our chip.
Wow. It's very good to hear this very explicitly in this call. I mean, something that we've already been discussing, for example,
Thank you.
in my Patreon
Your next
community,
question comes
and
from
I'm actually
Ben Wong
thinking of
from
making a
Deutsche
video about
Bank.
this
Please go ahead.
topic in specific,
Thank
but
you.
good
My
update on the
question is
chips.
about the margin in the third quarter. It clearly is a big margin drop by 4.4%, but it just explains because of the cost reduction. It seems not just enough. Is it because of the mix, because Analyst has been volume contribution more than 20,000 units? So can you break down about the margin driver? How much came from the margin from the onboard Analyst? How much from the cost reduction? If this really cost reduction was the key item, you actually got a cost drop in the number 3 quarter. Thank you.
Wow, really bad English. I mean, I'm not a native speaker, but I have
Hi,
trouble understanding this.
关于三季度这个毛利的提升，确实像你说的，我们大概分了2部分吧，主要的这个 driver， 一个呢是这个销量提升带来的这个供应链的降本，另外一部分呢是乐道的这个高毛利的车型 L90 的这个推出，因为跟上一个第2季度相比呢，我们在3季度交了2万多台 L90。这个是比原先的这个要L60的这个毛利还是要高不少。
So regarding
总体
chips,
来
I
说
told you
是
that I'm
大
currently
概
deep
越来
diving a little bit into
咱们整
robotics,
体
and
的这
so
个
yeah, it was
那
clear to me
个
that also Shenxi could be
breakdown 呢，
applied in
目前
the
我
NIO
们可以
self-developed chip
线
could
下
be
有的
applied
时候
in
再看一下，
robotics,
大概是
and
这样的一个
yeah, it's good
一
to
个
hear Libin also talking straight here that
Thank you for the question. As you
yeah,
mentioned,
first
our
in
vehicle
this
gross margin
type of
result
mass
in
production.
Q3 and the improvement from the previous quarters is majorly driven by 2 factors. The first is the cost reduction contributed by the supply chain, driven by the increase in our sales volume. And the second factor is the sales and the delivery of the L90, which is a high margin product that we have started to deliver from Q3. In comparison to Q2, we have delivered more than 20,000 L90, contributing better margin performance than the L60 in the previous quarters. These are 2 major drivers of the gross margin improvement in Q3. As for the specific breakdowns, I will also share more information offline with you.
具体的这个车型我可以给你一些例子，一个呢是
Yeah,
刚
was
刚
so that
William
L90 is actually having those impacts on the margins,
未
and
来的这
also
个全新 ES82 在
I was
3季度
thinking a
主
bit
要是
more on the
它的
average
毛利
sales
就达到了
prices. On the
20%。
average sales prices part, it
像
didn't
这
happen too
个
much,
5566
but on the
这样
margin
的
side, it
电销
clearly
车
did.
型呢，
So
我们其
that's
实对销
really
量和
positive.
毛利也做了一个比较好的平衡。基本上他们的这个
Now
毛利
for
在
the
3季度
chips,
也
yeah,
达到和
I
超
mean,
过了
like as I
20%。
said, like
另外
the
呢，
others are
像
talking about it, what they're gonna
66
do in 2 years' time or something, but NIO is having it mass produced
然
and
后
in the
L90
cars,
呢，也
and
基
it's
本上是在
certainly
10个
applicable in
20
other
之间。
fields as
所以
well.
我
So
们
I
其实
highly
担心
appreciate
的
that they
是
also keep on
在
going,
未来
doing
几年
something
乐
about
道
this
的
and
这
bringing
个
it into the
L90
industry.
其实相
And
对的
that's
毛
what
利
Libin
会更
mentioned of regarding this recent deal.
But here I can share with you some of the vehicle margin performance model by model. For the NIO ES8, as mentioned by William, is the vehicle margin is 20%. Of course, we didn't start the delivery of a ES8 until late Q3, so its actual contribution in the volume side is relatively small. And for the ET5, ET5T, their vehicle gross margin is between 15 to 20%, and for ES6 and EC6, their vehicle gross margin is over 20% and even reaching 25%, as these are already products being in the market for a while. We have already worked off the new car bus on this model. And for the L90, its vehicle margin is around 15 to 20%. So overall speaking, for the new models plus the Envoy L90, they do have a pretty good vehicle margin performance.
Thank you. My second question about your latest chip joint venture with Accelera. This is maybe largest shareholder with 36.4% stake in the company. So my question is, number one, why you choosing this partner Accelera from Chongqing? Why is not somebody else? Secondly, what's the business model about this joint venture? Is it just a sales company? And also, or is actually you really made this joint venture to make a chip by themselves? Meanwhile, do you actually get any license fee income already from this joint venture? Because this seems to be will sell your chips. Thank you.
This will be very interesting.
谢谢。对，
I
我
didn't
看有一
expect
些媒
to
体也
get
报道
such
了
a
我们
question. Rarely we
的
will
这
see
个
analysts
微微的一些信息啊。
asking
我
such
们
deep
希望
questions,
通
to be
过这样的
honest.
一些方式，
he even knew the company name. Wow, I'm impressed for the first time, really, with somebody covering NIO here on the analyst call. Let's see what Li Bin will say. I guess this will be a highly political topic, and it's early stage, so he might not be too outgoing about this. But if you haven't noticed yet, so basically, there's a chip company that has built a joint venture together with NIO, and is licensing NIO's chip tech, and will be bringing it into other companies basically, and what Li Bin just mentioned, into automotive, but also possibly robotics. And so this is basically a way for others to buy into NIO chips, because they wouldn't buy it from NIO directly, because they prefer a third party, I guess. And that's also what the analyst is currently asking about, like, what is the business model then? How does it help us? So also why they picked this type of company and so on. It's just a Li Bin deal making and the partnerships and this collaborative approach that is really unique with NIO, I think, compared to others. And of course, that's more like a future project. Like we'll have to see what's happening really.
Yes, some media has covered the establishment of this chip joint venture, and also we are leveraging our partners of this joint venture to sell our chip and also our IC design capabilities to other clients and also potential users. But this is not an exclusive partnership. We still have the possibility and also the opportunities to sell our chip solution and products to other partners and companies from our side. So that's one part of the way to sell that solution. We can also leverage our partners' resources to provide our chip solution to other car companies or other clients, and they will be acting as a tier one, providing such solution. In the meantime, as mentioned, we also see opportunities of applying such chip in the non-car or non-automotive industry. So that is also a pretty common practice for the car companies to share their technologies across different industries. And for our partners, they do have mature experience and also skills in the industry, in the chip design industry. They also have their own client and also network connections. And also they have some chip products that can be complemented to our chip across different scenarios. So overall speaking, we believe that this is a win-win partnership.
Thank you, Wang Bin.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Jeff with Citi. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Jeff from Citi. My first question is on the 4Q ASP. So look like the 34 billion revenue guidance should match with vehicle ASP up 12% Q on Q at 246,000 RMB. So if the GP margin reach 18%, that's around 6 billion gross profit, right? So this is my first question. And my second question is the first quarter, because we recognize the 4Q guidance suggests a revenue up 56% Q on Q, right? And the GP margin reached 18%. But having said that, entering into the first quarter next year, our volume is not going to drop back to the third quarter level, right? And secondly, look like our high margin products, like Q on Q volume, into the first quarter is going to be stable. So therefore, the product mix should further improve into 1Q on a Q on Q base. So my second question is, would the first quarter vehicle margin also stay closer to the 18% level, because the higher margin products contribute more to the mix? Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. 对，关于这个average selling price， 是整个公司四季度呢，确实会有一个提升，因为我们整个的这个高价格的这个车型ES8 在里面占比
So generally, I mean, I still read some skepticism in here, some from time to time, and sentiment-wise, also from the analysts, frankly, right now. But that's normal, I guess. I agree. NIO first needs to really deliver the profitability for Q4. It's going to be a tight one, but I guess even with that guidance, it's possible given the metrics that are coming into it. We're now also getting the question about how it's going to look like in Q1 next year, so that's going to be interesting. But still, I also would like to point out again that NIO is doing already a lot of stuff, like with the 5-nanometer chips and stuff that others are still just talking about. So
it will increase in Q4. This is mainly driven by the sales of the high margin product, the ES8. As for the full year, our volume guidance for the ES8 is around 40,000 units, and most of this sales will be happening in Q4. So it is also contributing to the improvement of the average selling price from Q3 to Q4. And regarding your second question on the gross margin outlook for Q1 next year, well, normally Q1 is the low season of the automotive industry. So overall speaking, the sales volume in Q1 won't be as good or as high as we normally expect for Q3 and Q4 in the previous years.
对，当然，如刚 William 所讲，就是因为今年
So I was going to say
整个车市的
that
这个套利效应，
you know,
也就是季节性
yes, of
是没有
course, they
往
make
年
sometimes
那么
promises
好。
and it's hard to keep, and
所以呢，
there's lots of
在
predictions
在入
and
到明年，
visions
基础
and
上呢，好呢，也会
yeah,
比往年要弱一些。
things they say they're going to
再加
do,
上呢，
and of course we need to
本
keep
身
them
的
to
这
their
个
standards. But
尤其是全新
you know,
ES8 的
there's
这
on
个
the other
销量
side
单， 当然
lots
呢
of
也
companies,
会
especially if you think
使
about
得我们能够
Tesla.
减少一些
How many
单
times
性
have
的这
they
样的一
kept
个
up
影
with
响。
their targets
所
of
以
when
总
they're
体来
launching
说呢，
FSD or
一季度的这个 整
meeting
个的
20
这
million
种电影厂
sales
的
guidance,
季
which
度
was
相
their
比之
goal,
下，就
which now
尤
they
其跟今年的这个一季度
basically
季度
sacked,
相比
right?
呢，
And
会有所
moving the
缓
goalposts
解。
to
当然
something
毛利
else.
率
Now
呢，相对
sales
来
don't
说
matter
比去年
anymore.
会有所下降。
Finally, we
但是
don't
呢，
get the
整个的
weeklies
这样的一个
anymore
gap 的底
because
部呢，肯
Tesla
定
is
会
on a
比
downtrend.
今年
Well,
的一季
Tesla
度和
wasn't
去年的一
included
季
in
度
the
相比
weeklies
也
in the
好很
first
多。
place, usually. But if you get the numbers still,
But as
they're going
also
down.
mentioned,
So NIO has to grow.
in
So
Q4 this year, we may not
don't be
see
just
the
all
common
negative.
sales spikes fueled by the seasonality. In that case, even if we are going to encounter the low season Q1 next year, the actual impact or the reduce or the decrease from Q4 this year to Q1 next year won't be that significant in comparison to the previous years. Not to mention that we also have the ES8 order backlog that will last until the next year. This will also help to offset the seasonality impact in Q1 next year. So overall speaking, our operations and also volume forecast for Q1 next year will not be as good as in Q4 this year, but will also not be as low as in Q1 this year. So overall speaking, the vehicle gross margin falls into the same trend. It will be lower than the margin outlook we have for Q4 this year, but will be better than Q1 last year.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Ming Sun Lee with Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Hello, William. This is Ming. So my first question is regarding your overseas plan because I think in the past few years you have built several sales channel in Europe, and could you give us more of your strategy for overseas expansion for next few years? Thank you. That's my first question.
好，谢谢。对，在过去这个几年，从21年开始
Yeah, they
到
sound a
去
bit
年，我们
more
在欧洲
optimistic about
主要采
Q1
取
with
的
what I
是
said
直营的一
before,
个
like
方
moving
式。
some of the
那么
catalysts into the weak season,
从这
which
个
is really
实
nice
际
to
的
have.
结果的角度来讲，因为还有关税和目标
Definitely
的
not
影
going to
响
be
的
as
话，
much sales as in
我们还是更
Q4,
加
and the
我们要
margins not
还
as
是要依
high,
赖
but
本地的这个合
should
作伙
be
伴
not
去开
as
始
bad
建。
as the rest of the
所以
industry
从今年
either.
开始呢，我们
So
其实在去年就开始在
NIO
拓
finally
展这个本地的
doing a
这
bit
个
of
合作伙伴啊。那
well-prepared
我们现在已
planning,
经
as
有
well as I
4
have
家
the
私人
feeling
国
that
家
they're
的
very well
已经
prepared
确
for this
认的这
earnings
个
call.
合作伙伴。
Let's
那
see
近
how
期的
much
话呢，就是
more
我们
questions we get from the analysts this
5Fly 这个
time.
产品就
It's
开始
already
依托于这些合作伙伴
1 hour and 20
在中国市场，
minutes.
就包括欧洲 包括亚洲，也包括这个中东啊，还有这个美洲的一些这个南美的一些这个地区国家和地区。所以总的来说，我们在改变我们的这个业务拓展。
Yeah, this should be your reminder to subscribe if you haven't yet, because then you can pop up here in the chat section and get highlighted like Sam. So thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't yet, everybody else, please subscribe. And after 1 year of subscription, you'll be able to comment here. We always value quality on this channel. So you got to stick with it for a little bit and prove that you're worth commenting.
这个产品呢也是有比较好的全球的适应性。NIO 的话呢，因为这个定价是比较高啊，所以我们反而是会有耐心一些，因为它在这个 premium 的市场，它需要更有耐心的去建立这个高端的品牌。所以在中国的话，我们是先有 NIO， 然后有 Anvo， 那么最后有 Firefly。那么在全球市场接下来的这个计划里面，我们是 Firefly 先行，然后 Anvo 的话是这个产品 ready 以后，我们也会进入。最后的话呢是 NIO， 所以我们会这个顺序会反过来。
Thank you for the question. We entered into Europe in 2021, and from 21 to 24 in the past several years, we've been doing direct to customers or direct to users, the direct selling model for the European markets. Yet in the meantime, with all the external factors such as the tariffs in EU, we also started to realize that for a broader market entrance, we do need to rely on and leverage more on the partners' support and resources. That's why starting this year, we have started to look for local partners for our market entry. Right now, we already have identified high-quality partners in more than 10 countries and regions. And the Firefly will be the first brand where we introduce to the overseas markets, leveraging our partners' resources and the network. The product will become available not only in Europe, Asia, but also in Middle East and also South America. So overall speaking, for the global market expansion, we are switching our business model from the direct selling business model to a more partnership-based and also local partner-supported business model. And also for the Firefly and its product, it's actually a very good product suitable for broader markets, and also its European version and right-hand drive version already developed, ready for the global market entry. So we do have confidence in the global expansion of the Firefly product. And in the meantime, we are also developing the Anvo product for the global markets. It is also a brand with a reasonable price range and product lineup for the global market expansion. As for the new brand, as it targets the premium segment, it does take patience and time to establish brand awareness on the new product. In that case, we are also more patient and also more long-term for the global market expansion of the new brand. So overall speaking, in China, we started with the new brand, the premium one, and then we have the Anvo brand and the Firefly. But for the global market expansion, we will take the opposite way, where we will start with the Firefly, and then when Anvo has the product ready for the global market, we will then push out Anvo and then NIO.
Thank you, William. My second question is regarding the expansion of more mass market opportunity. So since Anvo is very successful in L90 and also recently your L60 volume sales also continue to grow. So in the future, do you expect to launch more products under the Anvo brand and to have more business opportunity for the segment at 200,000 RMB or even below? Yeah, thank you.
谢谢。从乐道的品牌定位的角度来讲，它就是服务这个
Regarding internationalization and go-to-market, I still feel like here my personal experience in Europe is that NIO is having a hard time, but yeah, with Firefly, it might be really a good idea to push this product first, and then, like they said, follow up with Anvo, which depending on the price point, I would actually prefer some local production of Onvo actually here to be competitive, price competitive. It might be a success, and then NIO really takes some more time because, unfortunately, European customers are not willing to try and experiment with the Chinese brand, although the quality seems to be on par or better than what some of the locals have to offer, but they simply expect Chinese cars to be cheap. And yeah, that's I think a wrong perception also of China in general, and NIO needs just to prove itself a little bit more on that regard. So yeah, it won't be easy. It really won't be easy. They haven't cracked it yet, as most Chinese brands haven't cracked it yet overseas, to be honest. Like, yeah, you see more BYDs and stuff, but the numbers are insignificant to them.
Thank you for the question. For the Onvo brand, it is defined as a family-oriented brand for the mass market. So just like Toyota and the Volkswagen, for the long term, we do need to create a wide and broad product bandwidth to cater to more needs and also to cover more press and the market segments. So for the long term, for the Onvo brand, our price bandwidth will be ranging from 100,000 to 300,000 RMB. Within that range, we are going to offer more diverse products and also options for our users to choose from. We started with L60 priced around 200,000 RMB, and for the L90, the fully loaded one has a price point of around or close to 300,000 RMB. And the next year for the L80, it will also be between 200 to 300,000 RMB. So that is already a price segment captured by the existing three products. And in the meantime, we are also developing a new product platform where we are targeting the price range below 200,000 RMB. We believe that with this diversified product and price lineup, plus more mature power swap network, we are able to achieve a reasonable market share in the price range from 100,000 to 300,000 RMB. This is also the single largest price segment and the market in China's passenger vehicle market with a total volume of 15 million. In such a large market, there's no reason for us to not launch enough products to capture a sufficient market share.
Thank you, William. That's all my question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Jim Chang with CICC. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I have only one question, a follow-up question regards to the R&D expense. We have already seen our R&D expense in third quarter further decreased a lot to our previously guided level. So, but the industry's increased investment in intelligence and also AI-related other areas. How do we allocate our limited R&D expense, and how we balance the short-term R&D efficiency and also long-term R&D goals?
好，谢谢唐静。我们今年这个在研发方面的话呢
That's another cool question. Like let him talk a little bit about AI, R&D, and where he sees the future heading. Really happy with this earnings call so far, both from NIO side, really well prepared, and also on the other side, on the analyst side, they are really asking some smart questions today, and hopefully that helps for building up a little bit more confidence also with the institutions, and this narrative about NIO, which is always being questioned. I'm feeling that in social media. I'm feeling that in my YouTube videos that I'm making from time to time. I keep, at least I think I'm consistent in what I'm saying, and I'm trying to keep on telling that story. But of course, sometimes it's getting difficult to argue when things are going down with both share price and whatnot. So I agree with some of the commentators here before, which this type of call right now gives me a sense that NIO is maturing, both on the fundamentals, but also on the way they are handling things. And it's kind of reflected in how this call is going. So yeah, that should be really exciting.
Thank you for the question. Actually, this year, our major focus in the R&D activities is to improve the efficiency and also to identify the priority of different R&D activities and the projects. In that regard, the CBU mechanism has played a very important role in helping to making full use of the R&D investment and expenses. And in the meantime, we will also make sure that we will not lose our long-term competitiveness, as that is a baseline that we will not cross. So with the CBU, we actually are pleased to see that even if we're dialing back on the R&D expenses in the recent quarters, yet we still maintained the R&D capabilities and competitiveness in the 12 full stack capabilities for the smart EV. So we're also confident to continue that competitiveness. And also in the past several years, we've made major investments in developing the fundamental technologies for the core EV products, including our chips, operating systems, intelligent chassis, and also 900-volt high voltage architecture. As the foundation is already laid for the future products and the technology platform, the follow-up iterations won't be as costly as developing the foundation and also the fundamental technology, as the future iterations will also get more efficient in utilizing limited R&D resources.
那么在 AI 领域，不管是 AD 还是我们的像 NOMI 啊，还有我们的其他的这个在内部的管理提效方面的 AI 领域，我们还是会保证研发的这个强度啊。
It's good to see lots of discussions in the chat today. By the way, this will be available as a recording to watch later. So right now it's live, of course, like my previous live stream about the earnings report itself. But this one is also ready to view later on, and the comments will be in there for people who have been subscribed for more than a year. And so, yeah, I really appreciate this community built around NIO and the channel and Chinese stocks, which I said, I think I've got a feeling they are entering a slow, steady bull market, which could be more sustainable. And yeah, it's not hype right now. Still a long way back to the top, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, with NIO, many things are going to the right direction now. I think it's not a given yet with the Q4 profitability, but
AI technology and
pretty good.
Applications like the smart driving and also our AI companion NOMI, as well as the internal management and efficiency tools, we will continue our R&D intensity and also efforts, but we'll achieve that in a more efficient way. And in terms of using algorithms and the data, we actually have identified some good practices and approaches that can be more efficient than simply putting up investment or resources for the sake of achieving a high computing power or data performance. So we have identified some approaches with higher return on the investment. And actually in the AI industry, the success of the DeepSeek has also proven that you don't need to make a costly investment into developing a good large language model performance. So it's the same practice for us. Not to mention that we can also leverage our collective artificial intelligence equipped on all the vehicles and also our data closed loop. With that, to achieve the same level of computing performance, we actually don't need to use that much computing power as our competitors or other peers are doing. So overall speaking, in terms of the R&D, we have been putting more focus on the return on investment evaluation, as well as doing a better priority for our R&D activities.
Wow, that's super
Yes,
cool.
thank you.
I hope I get some time speaking to explain this one. Let's see what's the next question.
Thank you. Your next question comes from the line of Yuqian Ding with HSBC. Please go ahead.
Thanks, team. I got two questions. First one is, could you share the cost benefit when we hit the volume threshold? The current run rate is 500,000 now, and it's only going to get higher next year. What benefit can we get, let's say, battery and other critical components that have high weight in the BOM structure?
销量到了一定规模之后呢，我们我觉得
Okay, let's see if I can talk a little bit about the previous reply by Li Bin, which was about the analysts asking why they don't invest more into, let's say, compute power, like all of the US companies are doing that, right? And isn't that a contrast to R&D staying the same and stuff? So, meaning, wouldn't NIO fall back in competition here? And he's highlighting, like, you've seen with DeepSeek that the Chinese, they find ways for efficiencies that don't require that much compute power in comparison to the other approaches of just investing into NVIDIA GPUs. And I've been saying that all along on the channel, that this is the outcome of the US sanctions, and that the Chinese companies are very smart about that. You also mentioned the fleet sharing of the compute. So basically, the chips that are within the cars can be accessed and used for compute power on top. And so with that, long story short, this capex narrative that you need to build out more and more data centers to have the GPUs ready, it's not what the Chinese are looking after.
As mentioned, when the sales volume reach a certain level of scale, we will actually see how the economy of scale is contributing to the improvement in the financial performance, and it's mainly contributed, where it's mainly from two perspectives. The first is regarding stronger bargaining power along the supply chain. This can also help improve the vehicle cost structure, as you already see in our Q3 and Q4 vehicle margin guidance. And for the next year, we don't have a clear picture regarding how much it will be contributed by the economy of scale from the supply side. Yet, as mentioned by William, our gross margin target for next year is 20%. That will actually partially be driven by the economy of scale on the supply side. And the second is regarding the improvement in the manufacturing efficiency and also cost optimization driven by the manufacturing. As we improve our sales volume, the overall amortized manufacturing cost per unit will be gradually optimized. That will also contribute to the improvement in the cost structure of our products.
Thank you, Stanley. The second question is regarding next year's new model. Could you help us to put in context the potential higher scale and also the mixed impact? We talked about the bigger vehicle has better margin, but we also talked about the Envoy 90 is still 15 to 20%. So L80 will be below 90 in terms of the pricing. Presumably, will there be dilution or joint Envoy scale outweigh that?
对，明年我们推出的这个新的这3款车型呢，确实都是这种大车高定价的车型。那同样呢，我们相信也会是，当然因为现在定价还没有完全 finalize，但我相信基于这几款大车的定位呢，那它也会给我们带来相对不错的毛利，因为这3款大车其实是跟现有的 ES8 和 L90其实是会有不少的这个 synergy。所以我们在今年呢，到明年结合 ES8 和 L90的推出，我们也会有更多的这样一个降本的动作。这样一些呢都会 benefit 到明年的3款大车。所以总体来说呢，明年加上 ES8 和 L90这5款大车，它的销量的这个比例会占到我们总体销量的一个很高的一个百分比。然后另外呢，它的这个毛利水平也相比较就是低价位的这个车型。应该也还是会有一个不错的这样的一个毛利水平，然后来助力我们明年实现一个总体 overall 20%的毛利率。
Thank you for the question. As mentioned, the 3 new large SUV models that we're going to introduce next year, they are all positioned at the higher end of the price spectrum of their respective segment. We haven't finalized the prices for these new models yet we already expect more significant margin contribution by these 3 models. Not to mention that these 3 large models, they are further synergized with the current all-new ES8 and L90 from the cost structure. So this year and the next year, for the cost structure, for the cost optimization and the cost saving opportunities that we've identified on the ES8 and L90 can also be carried over to these 3 new models. So with 5 large models combined, we expect them to contribute to the good product as a good product performance, as well as on the margin levels. Overall speaking, achieving 20% of vehicle margin.
Thank you.
谢谢以倩。
Thank you. As there are no further questions, now I'd like to turn the call back over to the company for closing remarks.
Thank you again for joining us today. If you have any further questions, please feel.
Wow, what an earnings call! Almost 2 hours already. Well, I'm getting used to that. Those calls are getting longer and longer, but today was worth every minute, I think. And yeah, the feeling I have was also really echoed by some of those comments here in the comment section, like NIO has matured very well prepared, both from the analysts and NIO themselves. Lots of good insights. I think we got some pretty, facts-based talks here by Li Bin in terms of guidance. Still looking for Q4 profitability despite cutting the guidance on deliveries. But I think that's not a too big deal. The explanation was interesting that this has to do with the cutback of the incentives. So it will be interesting to see how the competitors are dealing with that, to be honest. Then Q1 outlook next year will be weaker, as always, but we have some catalysts coming up there with new models, and will overall be not as bad as usual in that weak part of the year. Then 2026 overall heading for 20% margins, vehicle margins as a guidance. 50K monthly deliveries at some point starting in the first half of the year, maybe not in Q1, but then going on. And then based on that, that also led me to believe that, if we're with those metrics that have been shown in the earnings report right now, that would bring us to profitability on an annual basis next year. And that's exactly what I also guided towards as a target for the team to achieve. That's what Li Bin said. So, of course, we don't know whether or not it's going there. But to me, I'm getting the impressions that this earnings was somewhat better than expected by the market. In a sense that, yes, the revenues on the top line have not been as great, and I think that's one of the drawdowns, like the average sales price is not growing. That's also one thing that I thought might be happening. But overall, the cost savings and the bottom line was really much better, I guess, than what people thought, and the margins, and with the guidance of that and the good arguments how this can become even better in the future. I think it's almost looking like NIO turned the corner here already. Like, even if, let's say, we don't get profitability in Q4, then I think it will still show very significant improvements on the bottom line. And then I think 2026, as I said, for many reasons, is lining up as becoming a great year for NIO, not only on the financial part and the deliveries, but also on looking forward to the tech side and the partnership side and that sort of things that I can possibly announce finally in 2026. So it's shaping up to be a good year, and I'm almost going as close as making the analogy here, like for those who've been following me over the years. There was one call where it almost became a meme, right, in the NIO gang back then, or the NIO investors community, when I was popping a champagne bottle in one of the videos with Miriam, making fun of, how I'm feeling so good about the earnings that they just announced. Meanwhile, the stock was dropping. But that was really the start of a stock price rise, that also fueled by some other factors, right? With the pandemic, obviously, at some point, and money printing. But this could somewhat almost repeat if you look at where we are right now. With the Fed is currently holding back a little bit, but and we may not get the December cut, but there are others out there, at least in my Patreon community. Shout out to Joseph if you're watching, who really think that the Fed is kind of doomed to cut and bluffing in a sense. And if we keep on getting rate cuts, then this will also help NIO stock price, because that's helping to discount more of the future cash flows into today's earnings. And yeah, that's what growth stocks are like. In growth, I just mentioned that I think is one of the key metrics here. NIO has growth. It's really going into the right direction, and nobody was anticipating that just a couple of months ago, really, where NIO was, and now it's becoming more and more mature. Also, hopefully on the supply chain side, on the production side, on the scale up side, because these have been really the main pain points where things could go wrong and where NIO could still stumble, right? And now we have this a little bit of a downer here with the cutback on this 150K target. Again, I think still with the 130, let's call it like that, 125, which I think is realistic, they could still also get to the profitability in Q4 because we still have so many things going on with the partnerships, with potential other sales revenues, high margin revenues for the R&D technology fees that are getting there from McLaren. No talk about 47 and McLaren today, but talk about NIO's chips ventures, which also will get them license fees at some point, but that's more a 2026 topic in my opinion. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to not covering weeklies anymore, not covering delivery numbers, instead focus on growth numbers, on the revenues, on the margins, on profitability metrics, and then looking forward more towards the innovation things where NIO needs to become better again, because frankly, they need to reinvent themselves. The industry got a little bit ahead of them. For example, with robotics, where's Nomi here in that game? NIO has all of the things they need, like their own self-developed chip, the AI models, the foundational models, the world model which they're building, which they've been talking about 2 years already again, and now only the industry is shifting towards that as well, and talking about, oh, by the way, I think LLMs will not get us to, or some AI approaches will not get us to smarter systems. Instead, we need to have world models in which actually the virtual realities are being created through simulations. And yeah, NIO today, interestingly, also talked about how they are able to do that without following the narrative of spending huge capex amounts on chips and that sort of things, instead building their own systems and efficiencies and having their own chips, which can do all of the many things that Elon Musk, for example, is talking about that Tesla is able to do with, in the future, the AI 5 and AI 6. Yeah. I don't know if that's been a good summary, but that's where I am personally right now and what I'm thinking. And so where are we going from here? I don't know. The next 1, 2, 3 trading days will need analysts to soak that in. Maybe Wall Street's more on the modeling the revenues and stuff and coming down a little bit from the 150K to the 120. If that's the thing, then, well, it's just the way they work. I wouldn't be really, horrified by that and see, but, usually it's always very, very volatile after the earnings. So I wouldn't read too much into market reactions either today or in the next few days. And after that, we'll see where things are going. To me, fundamentally, it's looking very, very good. I'm pleased with that. For me, it was very, very close to my already very optimistic expectations. So yeah, with that, I think, yeah, I really thank you guys for sticking around and spending 2 hours with me. And yeah, see you in the next videos, which will be more on the specific topics. I think the next one will be on the matter of chips and what we're building there and what the strategy could look like, and also how this is, giving them a way into robotics on top of that. So yeah, I'm frankly looking really more towards talking about these topics instead of what possibly may be behind us soon, Q4, which they hopefully even exceed those guidelines and get into profitability, which I think today had some good arguments why this is realistic. So with that, thank you guys for watching. Please smash a like. Please subscribe if you're not yet, because then in the future you can participate in such calls. And yeah, stay tuned for what's to come. Besides NIO, obviously also the Chinese stocks in general. And yeah, I'm personally also thinking about reopening the Patreon community at some point. But I'm just way too busy with other things right now. So thanks for watching. See you.